Hey guys, what's going on? Tommy Oliver here in this Purple Pixels, a channel all about empowering and impassioning the DIY creator here on the web. And today we're going to be talking about asking for directions instead of help. So, what do I mean by that? This is kind of a tip more for looking for help online. Because if you're an indie creator, I find, at least personally for me, a lot of the times I run into roadblocks when I'm trying to learn something, trying to do something, things like that. Whenever I need to learn a new skill. Right now it's 3D, because I'm doing a lot of low-poly 3D stuff in my free time right now. It's a skill that I've wanted to learn for like a decade, and I'm finally just kind of buckling down and making it happen. I'm finding a lot of instances where I'm kind of stuck. There are things I don't know how to do, and I'm trying to figure them out, and I'm Google searching, I can't really find it. So the natural thing to do in that situation, at least for me, is to go on forums or to go on Twitter and find people I know or know of that do these things and ask questions. And a lot of the times, when I see people posting like this on forums, when I go on them, or when I do it myself, the kind of like default go-to kind of like idea for it is like, hi, I'm trying to do this. Does anybody know how to do it? And I tend to find that this is very ineffective, especially if you're asking a complicated question, which is weird because like there's general help sections on forums that kind of seem to be dedicated to like answering questions like this. But a lot of the times, in my experience at least, I find that these don't work very well. That my questions at least are always just like ignored and like they float to the bottom, and you try and bump them to get attention and it never works. So there's something I've been trying recently that seems to be working a lot better than doing that, and that's asking for directions instead of asking for help. Now, it kind of sounds like the same thing. Like if you're asking for direction, aren't you asking for directions on how to do something? But it's not the kind of directions I mean. What I mean is when you ask somebody for help, they don't know who you are, and you're demanding something from them, right? You're asking for free labor. Explain to me how to do this thing that you already know how to do. That takes time, that takes effort, and it's an ask. Right? You're asking for something for free. And people tend to not even just be hesitant, but just like, oh God, that's a lot of work. Like if I went on a forum, because right now something I really want to learn how to do is how to do two things. I want to try and do more about real-time rendering because I'm working on a laptop and trying to render anything kind of like with Cycles, which is like the default, not the default, but like the go-to render engine in Blender, the program I'm using, is very taxing. And I'd rather render in real time so I can bust stuff out really quickly, because it sucks like doing a test render. It takes like 20 minutes and then like, you look at it and it sucks and you got to do it again. So if I can render in real time, that's great. Another thing I'm trying to learn how to do is how to do cloth and kind of just like physics simulations. I want to like animate hair moving around, like a head moves, or do some like kind of basic simulations with cloth and stuff like that for like capes and kind of stuff like that. And I want to do that more efficiently, again, because I'm working on a laptop, than setting a cloth modifier and doing it, setting a collision on the object and stuff. Because again, it's very CPU intensive, and when working on a laptop, it's not working. And I don't want to key it, and I don't want to animate it frame by frame, because not only because I don't really know how cloth would animate, but it's very time intensive. So I'm trying to learn how to do both those things. And my kind of like go-to normally would be go on a forum or find somebody who's done it and ask them how they did it. That doesn't seem to usually work. So my new thing that I'm doing, and I'm getting a lot more traction with this, is asking for directions. And it means directions to a place that talks about it already. Because when you think about it, the people who know how to do this learned it somewhere. So instead of asking them to reinvent the wheel and give you your own little private lesson on this forum or on Twitter or on wherever, ask instead, do you know a place where I can go to find this information? Because they found it somewhere. So maybe there's a YouTube tutorial they used. Maybe there's a forum somewhere that has a post. Maybe there's a website that talks about it. And if they know where it is, all it is going there, getting the link and pasting it, and you're off to the races, as opposed to asking them to do this entire thing. And like, it's way less labor intensive on the parts of the people you're asking, but it's less of an ask and more of like a little hero moment, right? Because they can be like, oh yeah, I know this, and they can like kind of throw it out at you. And they can kind of feel like that sense of like, yes, I helped, I did something, you know, without putting all the time and effort it would take to do this by typing it all out. So if you're trying to learn a new skill and you want to kind of like leverage community to help you when you're stuck, don't ask for help. Instead, ask for directions. So until next time, I'm Tom Oliver. This is Red Pixels reminding you guys, it might be indie. That doesn't mean that we're alone. I'll catch you on the next one.